150. Okay, so we're going to go to the right 150. Okay, and then which way are we going to shift, up or down? Up 3. Then we still need to figure out our vertical stretch. Remember that if this is a fraction, you flip it, just like yesterday. So I'm going to take my 360 degrees, and I'm going to multiply it by 2/3 flipped, which is what? 3/2. Now, if you want to do that by hand, okay, for fun, you could do 360, divide by 2 is 180, then times by 3. Okay, you can also just do it in the calculator, though, totally fine. So, times 3/2, my period is going to be 540 degrees. Okay, then my steps, what do I do with that? Divide by 4. So, 135 is how big the steps are going to be on the x-axis. Okay? So, from here, where is my starting value going to be? 150. The phase shift refers to the horizontal shift. It's just like a special term for it. Okay? And then if I add 135 to that, where am I going to be at if I do 150 plus 135? 285 is the next one. So I'm going to add 135 again. Next I'm going to be at 420. Okay, then add 135 to that. I'm going to be at, oops, I got 690.
Oh, yes, 690.
Okay, Sure? Like that? So if you can't read it, it's 285, 420, 555, and then 690. What's the next one? Okay, 825. 960, okay. 2 more left, 135. Okay. And then 1 more, 1230. Okay, where would the y-axis be if my first number is 150? Behind it. Okay, now from here, and then what's the vertical stretch or compression going to be? Okay, it's a stretch of 5. Now notice, see how the 3's up here? But remember, it doesn't matter if it's at the front or if it's at the back, it's the same thing. So I'm going to go stretch of 3. Okay? And then what's my amplitude going to be, just since we already know it? 10, because I would go up 5 and then down 5 from the middle. Okay? So, my up number is 3 for domain, yes. Okay, so there's my 3. That's my middle. Okay, and now we're going to switch and do the graph in the computer. Okay? Now, you could do it by hand, but this is an easy way for you to check. So, you should have your DESMOS.com pulled up. Okay, I'm going to show you how to type in the different things. Okay, so when you type in DESMOS, it looks like this. You're going to hit Start Graphing. Okay, I have to figure out how to make this bigger. Oh, maybe I can't. That's great. This is how I record your notes, is with this stupid box. Okay, so over here, type it in. We're going to do y equals. Okay, then our equation is 3 plus 5 cosine. Did you click on it? Exit it and go back into it? Oh, okay. Then do that. And then instead of your theta, you're going to put just an x. Okay? Now, the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to edit your settings. Okay, so let me see if I can fix. Addie, it was yours that's messed up. You got your sword? You can select work. So do... No, the box is just because I'm trying to...
I don't know what we're gonna put,
Oh,
but
it isn't tight.
you can type. Do 2/3, and it'll give you the 2/3.
Okay, anybody else having trouble? COS, just type it in. Now, there is a way to get to it, but don't worry about it.
I thought the vertical stretch was 5.
Wait, how do you do it?
It is a vertical stretch of 5. Huh? It should just start graphing it as you're typing it. Okay, then look. You're going to come over to this little wrench. Move this thing over. Okay, click this little wrench here. And then I want you to make sure at the bottom that you're in degree mode. Okay, so I clicked on the wrench. I clicked on the wrench. See the wrench in the corner? Okay, and then I need you to put yourself in degree mode. Okay, now, it's a straight line, okay, because I'm only looking at -8 degrees to 8 degrees. That's super small. Look at your graph you did on your paper. What's my smallest x supposed to be? Look at your little lines. 150. What's your biggest x supposed to be? 1250. So watch. For your x-axis, this number right here needs to be the smallest number. We said that was going to be a 150. And then for my number over here, this is the biggest number. I'm going to put 1230. What was my step that I need to put here? How much did it go up by each time? 135. And now look at your graph. It's adjusting itself to look perfect. Okay, then for your y-axis, we have to adjust that. What is the lowest my graph's going to go if I'm going to start at 3 and go down 5? If I'm going to start at the middle of 5 and I'm going to go down 3, what would that put me at? Start at 3 and then go down 5. I said it backwards, sorry. 2, -2, thank you. And then for my y max, if I start at 3 and I go up 5, what would that put me at? 8. Okay? And now look, it can do all the things for you. Did you change it to degree mode? Oh. Okay, you have to change it to degree mode. Okay, and then look, the box is how I record your notes.
Oh.
So just ignore. I'm trying to, I don't know how to make the box bigger. I thought I was able to do it, but maybe not. Okay, got it? Okay, so now we're going to take that graph and we're going to put it on our paper.
It never is.
I know it doesn't end. See, that's the fun part about trig. Look, this graph just goes on for 100 years. Okay, it never stops. Okay, but now I just messed up my whole window. Okay, so what did we want it at? It was 150, and we wanted it to stop at 1230. Okay, and then we wanted this to be -2, and we wanted this to be 8. Okay? So then it'll graph it for you, and then you can copy that on your paper if you hate having to do it by hand. Okay? Yes? A vertical compression would be, actually, let's do that in just 1 second. Let's copy the graph first, and then I'll address that question. Okay, so for my graph, I'm going up to a height of 8. I'm going down to a height of -2. Remember, that's my highest point and my lowest point. And then where does the graph of cosine always start? Up. Cosine's up. So at 150, I should be up. At 285, I should be middle, then low, then middle, then high. Then sine is the one that starts in the middle, yes. Okay. So the DESMOS really makes it pretty easy to check your work, to check your graph, but you still have to kind of know all of the pieces anyway. Okay, my domain. Okay, you guys saw on the graph, if it goes on forever and ever and ever, what's my domain? All real numbers. But my range, I have a specific range. What's the lowest my graph ever went? -2, and then what's the highest that it went? 8. Remember that I can use brackets because it actually touches those heights. Remember, asymptotes or open circles, that's when you leave parentheses. Got it? Okay, now let's address the question that Ariel asked. So I want you to go back to your computer just for a second. Okay, let's change the 5 in the front that makes it a stretch. Let's take it off and see what happens to the graph, okay? What happens to the graph? Now, instead of going up to 8 and down to -2, 3's here in the middle. Where does it go down to? 2, and then where does it go up to? 4. So now it has an amplitude of only 2, because it goes, this is the middle, up 1, down 1, up 1, down 1. Let's say that I change that to a half. How much is it going to go up or down? Here's your center, still right in the middle. This is the center. What happens to my graph? Now it only goes up a half, and then down a half, and then up a half, and then down a half. So if this is 3, instead of making it all the way up to 4, it only goes to 3.5. And how far does it go down if that's 2? 2.5. Now let's say we want to make it even smaller. Let's say that we make it, instead of a half, let's make it a 1/4. Well, then now it doesn't even make it to 3.5, it only makes it to 3.25. Yeah? You get the idea? So it's harder to graph with a compression because your graph gets a lot thinner, basically. Okay? But you can still do it. All right, so we're back on your worksheet. Take a look at the next one. Okay, so we have -12 plus 20, sine 30, theta plus 4 degrees. Okay, first question, which way are we shifting our graph? Okay, think about which direction it is. Okay, we're going to the left for, because it's always the opposite. So that means that my starting degree is -4 degrees. My vertical shift, I see I have a -12 in the front. That means down 12. Then my number in the middle is a 30. Is that a compression or a stretch? Okay, 30 sounds like it'd be a stretch, but remember, in the middle, it's reversed. So that's a compression. Then I'll take 360 degrees. I'll divide it by 30. What is 360 degrees divided by 30? 12, yeah. 360 is the normal length around a circle. Okay, so then divide that into steps. We want steps divided by 4 of 3 degrees. Okay, then our stretch or compression, what is it? In the front, it's a stretch of 20. So now we're going to go to your computer, and we're going to type it in, fix it up. And actually, we forgot to finish our x-axis. What are we stepping by each time?
3.
So if I do -4 plus 3, what's my next marker? Yeah, because our step is 3.
Oh, yeah.
Then we're going to step 3 again. What's the next one?
5.
Okay, then step to the next one. You get the idea? So you're starting at -4. You add 3, you get a 1. -1. Then you add 3, you get a 2. Then you add 3, you get a 5. What would come next if I add 3? 8 degrees. Add 3. Add 3. Then, and then 20 would actually be the last one. Yeah. Okay? And -1 and 0, yeah, would go here. Okay? Now we're ready to switch to the computer. So you have to kind of set the basics of your graph up before you switch. Am I good to switch this over? Okay, so we're going back to our graph. We're typing in over here. Okay, I want y equals, and then I'm typing in my equation, which is a -12 plus 20. Okay, then a sine of 30 parentheses x plus 4. Oh, okay. You type the letters Theta.
Yeah.
Oh. Just use it.
Don't use this. Look at God. You kept using it. Don't use that.
Now, this looks a little crazy. Why does it look like this?
I don't even know.
We don't have to switch modes, but think about, when does my graph do a full period and how many degrees? How long does it take me? I only need to look from -4 to 20, so I'm looking at like 12,000, right? Or 1,000. That's too big. So, go to your little wrench. It's a little wrench over here. Okay, my x-axis should be from -4 to 20. Right? And then what should my y-axis be from? Well, what's my middle line going to be at? What's my vertical shift? -12. So then if I do -12 plus 20, what would that put me at?
Oh my God. You would be at 8.
8. And what's -12 minus 20?
You would be at -32.
And now look at your graph.
Yeah.
Look at God. Okay. There you go.
Your steps are 3.
Oh, I forgot to change my steps. See how my numbers here don't match? Okay, now it's not going to really change your graph. It'll just make sure the numbers on your paper. My step should have been 3, right? And now look, it looks perfect. Okay, just like we wanted.
But you don't put the steps
Okay.
on y-axis?
You can if you want to. I didn't. Okay? And then think about, where's my middle at? My middle was at -12, right? And if I were to draw that onto this graph, you can see where your middle is. Okay? We ready to switch back to the paper? So this is really just more to check your work. You should be able to do it by hand, but if you can't, here's another resource. Now also notice, where does my graph start at -4? Where does it start if it's a sine graph? In the middle. Versus where would cosine have started? Up. Yeah?
Yeah, mine is red.
Did you click your wrench?
Click your ring.
What was your x-axis again?
Okay, -4 to 20.
Well, you didn't type in your equation. Okay, we'll click on it. Done.
You gotta type in my whole equation. Y equals
That is
-12 plus, not, yeah, plus 20. You just gotta type that in. That's why you don't have a picture. And then 30, parentheses 30, and parentheses again, x minus, or plus 4. You forgot your x. Go back to the arrow, and then just put the letter x. It doesn't have a data, but x is the same. And then just close your parentheses at the end. Okay, then click on your little wrench. One more parentheses. Click on your little wrench. Your x needs to be -4. That needs to be 20. So -4 is the first number. 20 is the second number. So here, look. I'll put it up here one more time.
Sine starts middle and then goes down, right?
Sine starts middle and then goes up and then down and then up and then down. You see it up here, JB? Okay. So look, -4 to 20, and then -32 to 8. Okay, now are we ready to put it on our paper? Okay, now with degrees, I would say this is kind of almost extra work, right? Okay, but when you do your radians, you see at the bottom that you can switch modes. Okay, that's where I think this is actually kind of helpful. So we're doing, here's our middle at negative, oops, that didn't work. Okay, at -12. Then if I go up 20 from -12, we said that puts us at 8. If we go down 20 from -12, that puts us at -32. And then remember that my graph for sine is going to start in the middle. So at 4 degrees, I should be at -12. At -1 degrees, I should be at 8. Then middle, then 5 is low, 8 is middle, 11 is high, 14's middle, 17's low, 20's high. And then you should always be starting your graph Okay, you should always be starting your graph at the same point that you ended at. You get it? Okay, when you're ready, turn over to the back side. Margia, your face while you draw this. You just look like you're loving it. Oh, what would the amplitude be if I went up 20 and then down 20? Total of 40. What would my domain be? I forgot to put that. All real numbers. You can zoom out on your graph. It goes on forever and ever and ever, but what's my range? What's the lowest? What's the highest? And then make sure you want your lowest first, your highest second. Okay? All right, backside. Okay, look at it. First one, which way are we shifting our graph? To the right. 2. Which way are we going to shift it, up or down? Okay, then for my stretch or compression, if this is a fraction, I flip it. Now, I'm in radian mode, so what is 360 in radians? 2 pi multiplied by, and then I'll put 5 over pi. Remember, if it's a fraction, you always flip it to find your stretch or compression. So what is 2 pi times 5 over pi? 10. So my period is 10. Divide that into steps of 4. 10 divided by 4 gives me a step of 2.5. And then where am I going to start on my graph? To the right, 2. So this should be 2. Then if I add 2.5 to that, what would come next? Then after that? Then? Plus 2.5 is? Okay, then 14.5 plus 2.5. Okay, and then just keep going, yeah? So 19.5 is next. And then 22. So when I type this into my calculator, I'm going to want to make sure, okay, that I go from 2 to 22. Where does that put the y-axis? A little bit to the left, right? And then where's my middle line going to be? -5. We'll put that here. That's my new middle. And then what is my vertical stretch or shrink? 6. So if I'm at -5 and I go up 6, what's that? 1. And what if I go -5 and then I go down 6? -11. Okay, and then that gives me exactly what I need to type into the computer to see the graph. Okay, even though really you should be able to do it without. Okay, so are we ready to switch to the computer? Okay, go ahead and start typing it in. So it's going to be y equals -5 plus 6. Then I want cosine. Now, when you want the pi, let me switch this over so you can see it. I would just type in pi, and it'll come up. There's another way to get it, but it's easier to just do it like that. So I want cosine parentheses. Look, watch. Here's my p. Then my I, it's like, I know what you mean. I got you. Okay, divided by, put the little slash. Okay, magical fractionness happens. Over 5. And then I want x minus, what was it, 2. Now, look at your line. It's a straight line. That's because I'm in the wrong mode. How do I fix it? Go to the wrench. Okay? Come over to this little wrench here. Yeah. Go down to that little wrench. And you need to switch it to oh, look. Now it looks like a real graph. Okay, then I still need to switch my other stuff on here. My x-axis, where should it start? 2. Where should it stop? 22. What was my step? 2.5. Okay, my lowest point. And you could also be kind of lazy and look at the graph, right? If this is negative 10, and that's negative 12, what's in the middle? Negative 11. You can kind of set it just by looking at the picture. Okay, but you should also know it just from the math. Okay, and then up we said it was 1. And now look at that. A perfect graph. Okay, look at it. So perfect. Okay? Now this is a cosine graph, and where does my graph start? At the top. That should happen. If that doesn't happen, that means you did it wrong. Okay, I'm going to take this off, so make sure that you have that on your screen. Okay, and then we're just going to put it on our paper. Good? Okay. So, at 2, I was at a height of 1. At 4.5, I was middle. 7, I was low. 9.5, middle. 12, high. Middle, low, middle, high. And then dun da da dun. There's your graph. What's my amplitude? 12. Okay, because I went up 6 on this side, and then I went 6 more on this side. So I added up, that's 12. So my range would be negative 11 to 1. And then my domain is all real numbers, as usual. Okay. All right, one more left. Okay, we'll do one off the homework. Okay, so last one, we'll do one off the homework instead. That's fine. Pick one. You want to do a sine or a cosine? Oh, you want to do one with a half in it?
I want to do one with the
Let's do number 3.
Let's do the hardest one.
Let's do number 3.
Oh, there's 2 3s.
Oh, so we're doing both.
What? Oh, I cannot number for my life. Okay, which way are we moving it? It's a plus pi, so I want to go to the left pi. Remember, it's always the opposite in parentheses. So left pi, that makes that a negative pi. And then my vertical shift is up 3. Then in the middle, I see a half. That means I'm really multiplying by what? 2 pi times 2. Okay? So 2 pi times 2 means a full period is 4 pi. But then I divide that into 4 equal steps. 1 pi. So if I'm at negative pi and I add 1 pi, what would I be at if I do a negative pi plus a, you know what I mean? 0. Okay, then I add another pi, what would I be at? 1 pi. Then what would I be at next? Then, this is like my dream. People counting in pies. Okay, then there's the y-axis. If 0 shows up, that's your axis. Okay, then where are we shifting our middle line to? Okay, so 1, 2, 3. There's our middle line. And then am I starting up or down 2? Or, oops, I just told you. It's a stretch of 2. So if I go up 2 from 3, where would I be at? 5. And if I go down 2, where would I be at? 1. Now, are you noticing the negative? Normally, cosine starts up. Where do you think this cosine is going to start? Down. Abajo, sí, por supuesto. So, primero, poner el punto aquí. Porque es negativo en frente del 2. Okay, then 0 goes back to the middle, then pi goes high. Then middle, then low, then middle, then high. Then middle, then low, then middle. I think I got off. Low, middle, high, middle, low, middle, high, middle. Did I skip one? Low, middle, high, low. Oh, it's because I put these on the same one. Duh. Thank you. Okay, but why did this cosine start bottom instead of starting at the top? Because of the negative. And then from there, it doesn't really seem like y'all think this computer thing helps very much, but let's do it anyway, just for fun. Okay? It's really just to check your work. Okay, the amplitude is going to be 4 because we're doubling the stretch number. Okay, so let's come over here and type it in. So we're doing y equals negative 2 cosine 1/2 x plus pi. Remember, you're just typing in the number pi. Oops, don't put it there. X plus pi. And then plus 3. And then go that little ranch over there. Okay, now look, I can't even see any of my graph. It's because I'm too low, right? My graph doesn't even start till 1. So if I were to drag my screen up, oh, there she is. Okay, right there. Okay, so we're coming over to the little wrench. And then we're going to type in the stuff we put on our paper, make sure that it looks right. So a wrench here. What's my x min? Negative pi, right? My max is going to be 7 pi. And then my step is a pi. And look at how it does the axis for you. Look at that. Counting by pies. Okay, then my lowest min is going to be 1. And the highest that it needs to go is 5. And then look at that picture. So that way, if you didn't notice the negative, you would realize, oh, it's flipped upside down because there's a negative in front of the graph. Okay?
The next number 3.
Fine. Okay, so if you want to just work at your own pace, I'll do number 3, the second number 3 with you if you want. Do you want to pick like a non-radian one though? Like a degree, or are those easier? I don't care. Okay, so if we're doing the other number 3, which way are we shifting the graph? Okay, left 2. Okay, then which way are we shifting it vertically? Up 4. Okay, then if I have a fraction in the middle, remember I flip it. Times 10 over pi. The pi's are going to cross out. What's 2 times 10? 20. Divide that into steps of 4. It's going to be 5 each time. So my first x-axis mark, if it's to the left 2, is going to be at negative 2. Add 5 to that. Where are you at?
You add
3. Add 5 to that. Add 5 to that. Oops, I can't add. 13. Okay, then 18. Then add 5 would be 23. 28. 33. 38. Okay, then where would my y-axis go between which 2 numbers? Negative 2 and 3, because that's where 0 goes on the number line, right? Okay, then where's my middle line going to be at? This time if it was up, how many? Quattro. Okay, there's your 4. And then my stretch is what number?
3.
Stretch of 3. So if I go up 3 from 4, where would that put me? 7. And if I go down 3 from 4, where would that put me? 1. And then you can draw in your high-lows. Where does the graph of sine start? Sine starts middle. So at negative 2, I should be middle at 4. Then at 3, I should be high. Now, what if there was a negative in front of the sign? Instead of going high first, what would you do? Go low first, right? Okay, but it's the same idea. Okay, and then you can check it in the computer if you want. And then what's my amplitude? 6. And then I forgot to write it on the last one, but I think y'all said what it was. What was it on the first number 3? 4. Because you're going up 2 and then down 2. Okay, do you like the computer, or does it just make it worse? Too much. Because it's like, I guess you still have to do basically all the work by hand just to be able to put it into the computer. But if you like it, you can do it. Okay?
I guess it looks like the picture.
Yeah. Yeah, if you're doing it at home. You can see if you like messed up or something. Okay, you have 2 more left. Oh, I don't even know how to